You know, for a lot of fans of the Chicago Blackhawks, the 1971 season started off as a dream but ended as a nightmare. Now, they had a good enough squad to win the Stanley Cup that year and literally came within minutes of winning the title, but the Montreal Canadiens were too strong for them in their 7-game series. Now, the 70-71 Chicago Blackhawks had their 45th season in 1971. Again, they advanced all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since '65, but were defeated by the Habs like they were in '65, this time in 7 games. Now, they finished with a 49-20-9 record, first in the West, with an outstanding 36-3 home record, with almost a plus 100 in the goal front. 277 goals for and 184 against. Now, led by GM Tommy Ivan and coach Billy Ray, the team still had no captain that year, but Stan Mikita was the alternate captain. Now, the beautiful Chicago arena had a lot of great thrills for the fans that year. Bobby Hull, of course, led all scorers with 44 goals, 52 assists, and 96 points. Bill White had a plus 51, and Espo had 35 wins on a 2.27 average. Now, during the offseason, the league expanded as the Sabres and Canucks joined the league, but were put in the West Division. Now, the league also increased the schedule by 2 games from 76 to 78. Now, the Blackhawks were moved to the West as part of divisional realignment, and the club decided to strip Pat Stapleton from his team captaincy, electing to not have a captain of the squad. Now, they started the season very strong with an 18-4-5 record in the first 27 games. Now, they had a great campaign as they easily won the West Division with 107 points, with 20 ahead of second place St. Louis. Against Bobby Hull, finished 5th in scoring, with his brother Dennis also cracking 40 goals and 26 assists for 66 points. Mikita had 28 goals and 72 points, while Pitt Martin and Brian Campbell each had very good seasons, finishing with 55 and 54 points respectively. On the blue line, Stapleton led the team with 7 goals and 51 points, while, of course, White, the future Summit Series star, chipped in with 4 goals and 25 points with a plus 51. Now, Magnuson led the Hawks in the penalty box, literally and figuratively, with a team record 291 minutes in penalties. Now, Tony Esposito also had 6 shutouts while appearing in 57 games, and backup goalie Jerry Desjardins won 12 games with a 2.47 goals against average. Now, we're noticing a trend in the regular season, ladies and gentlemen. They were losing a lot of key games against Montreal by big scores. Now, not to be negative, but really, if you look at the raw stats, they lost a big 7-1 game against Montreal on February 20th, which was one of the biggest defeats of the season. And right before the playoffs started, they were nipped 2-1 by the Habs in Chicago. Now, they opened the playoffs against the resurgent Philadelphia Flyers, who, despite their 28-33-17 record, placed 3rd in the West Division. The series opened with 2 games in Chicago, and the Blackhawks, who won a club record 30 games at home, continued their dominance, defeating the Flyers 5-2 and 6-2 to take a 2-0 series lead. Now, off to the spectrum for games 3 and 4, and the Hawks were too much to handle for the Flyers, as Chicago won a close 3rd game, 3-2, before tripling Philly 6-2 in the 4th game. Now, Chicago's next opponent was the Rangers, who finished the season with an outstanding 49-18-11 record with 109 points and a second-place finish in the East Division. The Rangers defeated Toronto in the first playoff series, and since the Blackhawks won the division, they were given home ice advantage in the series, which played a big factor in its official result. The series opened up a 2-game Chicago Stadium. However, the Rangers took a 1-0 series lead, defeating the Hawks in overtime 2-1 in the opener. Chicago then evened the series in the next game, shutting out New York 3-0. When the series shifted to Madison Square Garden for the next 2 games, the Rangers won the 3rd contest 4-1. However, Chicago rebounded for a 7-1 triumph in Game 4 to once again even the series. Now, the 5th game was back in Chicago, and Chicago took a series lead with their own 3-2 overtime victory. Back in New York for the 6th game, the Rangers would push the series to the limit with a 2nd overtime victory of the series, setting up a 7 and deciding game in Chicago. Now, This is where home ice advantage came into factor. They took an early lead and held on for a 4-2 victory to win the series and earned their first trip to Stanley Cup in 7 years, or 7 seasons. Now the Blackhawks' opponent was the Habs, who finished the year with a deceptive 42-23-13 record with 97 points, good enough for third place in the East behind Rangers and Boston. Now Montreal then upset the heavily favored Bruins in the first round, followed by a 6-game defeat of Minnesota in the second round. The series between Chicago and Montreal was hot from the outset, with 2 games in Chicago Stadium to start, as they won 2-1 and 5-3. The series shifted to Montreal form for the next 2 games, and the Canadiens evened the series with 2 home wins of their own by scores of 4-2 and a decisive 5-2. Now, the 5th game returned to Chicago, and the Blackhawks stayed hot at home, shutting out Montreal 2-0 to take a 3-2 series lead. The Hawks were looking up to wrap up the series in Montreal in Game 6. However, the Canadiens forced a 7th game by winning a nail-biter 4-3. Now, in the 7th game in Chicago Stadium, where the Hawks were 7-1 during the playoffs, and of course, that big home record in the regular season, the Blackhawks took a 2-0 lead halfway through the game. But the Canadiens cut into the lead when Jacques Lemaire, who told me what happened on the shot, he took a shot from center ice over Esposito's shoulder and made it 2-1. The Canadiens then tied the game at 2 before the end of the second, when Henri Richard, the pocket rocket, scored, setting up an intense third period. Richard once again scored 2:34 into the third, giving Montreal a 3-2 lead, and Dryden held the Blackhawks off the scoreboard the rest of the way. Now, this was an unexpected cut from Montreal, and it was unexpected that Chicago would be defeated as well, because Chicago was considered the odds-on favorite because of his regular season home tally, and because of this, Montreal became the first NHL team since the '45 Maple Leafs to win a Game 7 on the road in the Stanley Cup Final. So, just to recap, by the way, Jules Melanche and Ken Brown also played in net for Chicago that year, and of course, in the playoffs, the great Cliff Clorall and Jim Pappen had a good playoff. Now, this team was just tremendous. On defense, you had not only White, Magnuson, you had Doug Jarrett, Pat Stapleton, Jerry Korab, Paul Schmier, and on the wing, Pappen, the two hulls, Doug Bones, Eric Nestorenko, Chico Mackey, Jerry Pender, Dan Maloney, Cliff Clorall, and Larry Romanech, and the centers Angotti, Martin, Danny O'Shea, Brian Campbell, and Stan Mikita. So some immense talent. And this was well before a lot of people basically felt that Chicago was going to have a dynasty because Bobby Hull, basically with his experience, was going to allow that. And of course, they made the Stanley Cup Final in '73, but lost to Montreal again in 6 games. So, I mean, Montreal stopped Chicago from winning 3 cups back in the day, and as we like to say at the bingo, Montreal is Chicago's number. So that's the story of the almost Stanley Cup for the 1971 Chicago Blackhawks. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, or subscribe. And don't forget, when you get 2 hulls, it's better than 1. Have a good day. Bye.